Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 16 of the Chicago Rinkcast. I'm Andy Campbell. I'm here with Sean Fitzgerald and Jimmy O'Malley. What's up, fellas? Sean, I like your hat. Jimmy, I like yours more. But Sean, tell us about the lid you're wearing. And then Jimmy, I want to hear about your hat, which has more significance. But Sean, you can go.
Okay, I will go. I've got an LAFD hat. It was made by New Era. It's I got a big dirt stain on it. It's the Rink hat there. LAFD. All the money spent on the hat was donated to the American Red Cross to help first responders in California for the wildfires. So
that actually is pretty cool. I'm sorry I downplayed that.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. But Jimmy has a Rock and Rockford hat, and I want to hear more about that because it's a really cool R.
Yeah, this was Saturday night's, the last game before the All-Star break. This is Saturday night's promotional giveaway. I was able to secure one, even without a ticket, because sometimes you just need to know somebody on the inside. After the game, somebody on the inside provided me with a wonderful hat that I'll be wearing obsessively for a while.
Excellent. Get you through those cold next few weeks before we finally get some spring relief. Well, anyway, speaking of a cold next few weeks, we are in February and the Blackhawks are still struggling, treading water. They're not scheduled to lose again until tomorrow night. So they've had a few days off here. And obviously it hasn't looked good, but help is on the way. I know you've heard us say that a lot recently. So Nick Lardis, Blackhawk prospect. I can't remember when he was drafted. It was 2 years ago. I think he was a third-round pick.
Yeah, I should know this. I did an article on him recently.
You totally should. You wrote it the other day, Sean.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
2023, I believe.
2023 third-round pick. 19 years old right now, playing in the OHL for the Brantford Bulldogs. He had a 4-goal game the other night, and now he is leading the OHL in scoring. And he has 48 goals. 33 assists, 81 points. Sorry, he's leading the league in goals, not in points. In 47 games for a 19-year-old, he is going off, folks. So this is really, really cool. And everyone's like, oh, my gosh, we have the next coming of Ovechkin. Everyone's freaking out. Oh, my God, what a prospect. What do we got here exactly? Sean, I'll let you go. You're shaking your head in disgust. So tell us, what do we have in Nick Lardis? What should we be looking forward to? Obviously, this is pretty cool. I'm glad he's a prospect. But what should we expect here?
So it's cool to score probably 60 goals in the OHL. A lot of 40 guys have scored 60 or more goals in the OHL. Ernie Godin scored 87. He has one career NHL goal. So yes, it's a special OHL season, but he's got to translate to the next level. So hopefully he can. They said they've been sending him videos of. I don't think it was Alex DeBrincat. It was some other NHL player who is the same size and body type as Lardis to try to get him to focus on scoring in different ways. Because obviously he's 19 years old. There are some 16-year-old kids in the OHL. You can play from 16 to 19, and then each team is allowed 3 20-year-olds for their overage year.
Right.
But I think it's kind of a wait and see. Yes, he's going to be a Rockford Ice Hawk next year. Yes, he's probably going to be counted on to score because you figure Nazar, Doc, and those guys aren't going back next season. You figure they're going to be in the NHL as well as Slaggert. So it's going to be him, Moore, Green, going to be counted on to score goals. And he is, according to the stats, the most naturally gifted goal scorer of Hawks prospects currently. So, special season for him. I think we got to see how it translates to Rockford. People saying that he should be in Chicago next year.
No,
it's just asinine. It's
it doesn't check out.
It's a baseball analogy. An A-ball player having a great A-ball season, you're going to call him up to the big leagues next year. Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. I mean, Jimmy, what say you on this? I mean, is there guarded optimism? Is that what you're feeling about this? I mean, obviously we should be enjoying what he's doing, but this is his 4th year in the OHL as a 19-year-old. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is his 4th year. I think the biggest thing to take away, he has progressed very well the last 4 years, and this year he's obviously just taken a huge leap. I mean, already career high in points of 81 this year. Last year he had 50.
Did he have
So
28 goals last year, Jimmy?
29.
29.
So he has 48 this year. So he's very much outplaying his expectations, even the most wildest of expectations. When it comes to playing in Chicago next year, he'd really have to have basically a Frank Nazar like explosion in the AHL to even be considered. I see him as like another cup of coffee guy at the end of the 26th season. Kind of get your 3 games at the end of the year, see where you're at in your development. I would not put money on this guy playing more than half the season next year in the NHL. Again, unless he has this absurd, Frank Nazar explosion to begin the season. But at the same time,
if anyone wants to bet him playing half the year in the NHL next season, I will take that bet right now.
Yeah.
So again, with like the difference between Nazar and Lardis is that Nazar is fantastic in like all zones. Lardis, he's a sniper, but he definitely needs to work on the other parts of his game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a goal scorer, and to your point, a lot of the other guys that we're talking about are the earlier round picks, the first round picks. Those are 60-foot hockey players. They play in all zones of the ice. It seems like this is strictly an offensive weapon of sorts. And I also think, if you think about folks, and I posted this on Twitter the other day, it's too bad I still don't know how to embed these tweets and just kind of throw them up there on the screen. But from the 2013-14 season through the 23-24 season, the names of players that led the OHL in goal scoring, which Nick Lardis is currently on pace to do, those names are Dane Fox, Joseph Blandisi, Christian Dvorak, Alex DeBrincat, Dmitry Sokolov, Justin Brazeau, who's in Boston right now, but he also led the OHL in goals as a 20-year-old. Nick Robertson, we know him, and he did it at 18, which is pretty sweet. Luke Evangelista, NHL player, Matthew Maggio, Anthony Romani. And those are the names. So out of those names, there are 2 superstars in there, DeBrincat and Robertson, I guess you could say, and then just kind of a bunch of guys. So I don't know. We don't know. We're rooting for the kid. He's got a chance. Like we said, it's great that he's a prospect in Chicago. But this idea that he should be signed by the Blackhawks at the end of the season and start playing in the NHL right away, I don't know about that. Folks. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know when does Brantford's season end? I mean, I assume they've got, I don't know if they have OHL playoffs or if you go on I don't know how the Memorial Cup works, if they go that far. So looks like their last regular season game is late March.
Yeah, and they play 63 games, 62, I think is what he's going to play in. I don't know if they go in the Memorial Cup, but I know.
Well, I think they do OHL playoffs, and then the Memorial Cup is all the junior leagues.
Right.
Best teams from all the Canadian junior. I think. I don't know. I should probably know this. But anyway, pretty cool. So anyway, keep an eye on Nick Lardis. If he leads the league in goals, that'd be awesome. Seems like a good scorer. And what's the other Blackhawks prospect that's on his line, or that is in Brantford too? First round pick, Van Acker.
Van Acker.
He's been killing it lately. He's had 5 goals in the last 5 games.
Yeah, that's awesome. And he's just back from a shoulder injury, I believe. So his season started really, really late. But and that's why they drafted him. That's why they traded up to get that late first round pick to have the 3rd one in the first round. They said, look, every time they went to see Lardis, they keep watching this Van Acker guy. So they said we got to have him, which is also kind of cool. So Jimmy.
The Memorial Cup is May 22nd through June 1st of this year.
Okay. So Brantford need to be the best team in the OHL to be in that, right?
Correct. Yes.
So odds of them being there slim.
Correct.
I don't know. Maybe he'll come in for a cup of coffee. They might sign him in the spring. I don't know.
Or he'll do he did an ATO last year. And
did he?
He played in one game, I think, with Rockford last year. And I think he practiced with him for a bunch of guys did that. But I know Lardis was one of them. Gotcha.
All right. Well, good luck, Nick Lardis, and we'll see where this goes. Now, Jimmy, you mean covering, the Ice Hogs for this year. Now the Blackhawks' first overall pick in the 2024 draft, or their first pick, 2nd overall. Artyom Levshunov gets a call up to practice. Tell us more.
Well, in the press release, it became pretty obvious. He was called up specifically just to get a couple practices in the NHL level. He's not playing tomorrow against the Oilers. I mean, thank goodness he's not. I don't want this kid facing McDavid and Draisaitl the first time he steps onto the NHL ice. This is just to keep him conditioned. He didn't get the chance to have a training camp because of a broken foot. So this is an opportunity to get into the building.
Yeah.
Basically not sit on his hands during the AHL All-Star break. And from what we've heard, especially from comments from his former coach Andrew Sorensen, he said he's looked good. He has gotten better in terms of conditioning and positioning since he last saw him back in December. So that should be just a positive sign for a lot of Blackhawks fans. I got a chance to watch him both Friday and Saturday. Had some tough shifts. There's no doubt about it. He's still learning the defensive game, and he will make mistakes, and he has. But he had a great goal Friday after he had a pretty bad penalty at the end of a long shift where he should have gotten off the ice 30 seconds before. He got back in the ice and he played a really decent game the rest of the way against the Wolves. Against Milwaukee, he did well. One of those games where it was like, well, I don't see him making bad mistakes. He had a tough back pass that got turned over during a power play, but that led to nothing. So this is just it's basically checking. Blackhawks fans should not take this as any more than that, and it seems like most fans have seen that. It's just continuing his progress through this year, continuing his development, and it's continuing to go up a steady stream.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably too ambitious to suggest that he'll be NHL ready next year. I mean, maybe at some point, but I think he's still pretty darn young. And in the world of NHL defensemen, if you're going to be playing as a teenager, you have to be absolutely lights out. There can't be any question. Sean, even though he'll go in his first NHL training camp next year, you anticipate that AHL bound next year?
Yeah, I think he's going to go back.
Head nods in there too.
Yeah, I think he's going to go back. I think it's just he didn't start the year. He was hurt. Like I've said before, he's transitioned from the USHL to the NCAA to the AHL in 3 consecutive seasons. So
yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
So I think have some stability, have another season under his belt in Rockford. Because sometimes, like you said, young defensemen take a little bit of time to mature just their game. I mean, you look at like Alex Vlasic when he spent the whole year down there. He was older. He played 2 or 3 seasons at Boston University before he went down there.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be in the AHL next year to start the year, and then maybe by the midway point of the season, if he's showing progress, he might get an audition, like a 3 to 9 game stint, and then we'll see where he goes from there. But I don't anticipate him breaking camp with the Hawks next year.
Yeah, I think it'd be tough. I just hope he has a good camp. Like, I hope he comes out and everyone's like, all right, this kid took the offseason very seriously. He's ready to play. He wants to play. So that he turns out to, kind of another guy where has taken his time and got some good seasoning. And I know we've talked about Ethan Del Mastro a lot lately on this show, but it almost seems like he might be up for a while now. What could have been, just a short stint. Jimmy, you mentioned earlier when we were DMing back and forth, healthy Hawks now. The team is getting back healthy, which is important. I mean, the D pairs right now, as they stand, Alec Martinez is playing with Seth Jones. Vlasic, is Murphy back? It sounds like Murphy is.
Yeah, I think he came back last game.
Yeah, and Murphy and Vlasic will be playing together. And then Del Mastro still in the bottom 6 pairing with TJ Brody. Poor guy. But Ethan Del Mastro, should we anticipate that he might be with the Hawks for the rest of the season, Jimmy?
I would assume so.
I don't think he's coming back up or going back down and bringing Kaiser back up.
I think at most you'd see a paper transaction, get him down for the playoffs because the Ice Hawks are in position to take the 5 seed in the Central.
Okay.
I would assume a paper transaction to get him playoff experience, but other than that, I think he's played himself into the lineup. I mean, the only reason I could see the Blackhawks sending him back down to stay is if they're just not going to play him. which has been a source of criticism from many Hawks fans, including me, about Sorensen's lineup management, especially on the defensive pairing since Del Mastro has been called up. I would prefer to see him every game. I wouldn't care if Brody was, scratched every night for Del Mastro, even if Del Mastro makes mistakes.
Is that a young coach having deference to a veteran though?
It could be. I had a theory a while back. I think I shared it in the chat. I think they're genuinely doing this for trade value purposes. If you have a guy that you're scratching on a really bad team and you're trying to market them, how are you going to market him? Like, hi, here's a guy on the second worst team in the NHL and he can't crack the lineup, but I'm sure you'd want to trade something for him. It's not great, and I know it's not something that, a lot of Blackhawks fans will be sold on, but I would admittedly understand the philosophy of doing that. Just, hey, if we can get him out by early March, that would just open up the roster spot for Del Mastro while getting something in return. But then again, what are you going to get for TJ Brody, especially with another year on his contract?
I don't know. Yeah, it's really that. Yeah, that's a shame that they're just going to be saddled with him. I mean, you buy him out. I don't know what you do, but he can't really play.
Yeah, he's going to more than likely get bought out.
Yeah, he has to. You got to make room for some of the other guys eventually. I mean, I just don't see it. But yeah. So I mean, is Allen going to be a healthy scratch tomorrow night?
I hope not, but
yeah, he might.
You never know.
Yeah, he was paired with Artie today at practice.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe he is a
too bad, but we'll see. Well, let's go around the league real quick. Obviously, we haven't seen the Hawks play in a little while. It's been woeful. We're kind of waiting to see if Ryan Donato might get traded. We're waiting to see if there's any other big moves. But when we go around the league right now and we talk, the salary cap is the hottest thing right now, and obviously there's trade windows, not wins. Though who knows? Maybe the New York Rangers did get a win in their trade. JT Miller on the move. He's back in New York from Vancouver. But real quick on the Hawks and the salary cap, I don't know. Is anyone else nervous about the fact that with the salary cap going up $7.5 million, I believe it is. It's going from $88 million to $95.5 million. I think that's what's happening. I don't have it in front of me, but the Blackhawks originally were going to be major players in the offseason, still could be major players. But I guess the concern that I have right now is that are teams now going to be able to afford UFAs that they would not have been able to afford before? I mean, look at Toronto, for example. Will they still try to take a run at Mitch Marner, assuming that John Tavares can take a pay cut, will take a pay cut? Are they going to get something? Are they going to try to work something out there? The Hurricanes don't really have a salary cap issue. Rantanen is going to command big bucks. Is Florida going to try to make room now for Sam Bennett? Are a lot of these teams that thought that they were losing free agents and the Blackhawks were going to have this feeding frenzy, are the Hawks now kind of in trouble with the cap going up? Does that almost hurt the Hawks in a sense? Jimmy, go ahead.
I would say no, because they're still projected to have the fourth most salary cap space going into the summer, even with Seth Jones. Now, if Seth Jones is off, they'll probably be top two.
Yeah.
I would be less than concerned because, again, if you're the Blackhawks, you can win any bidding war. Just about any bidding war.
Yeah, that's true.
So, sure, guys are going to get raises. Like Mikko Rantanen can get a raise in Carolina. Carolina could realistically afford him at his market value.
Mm-hmm.
But the Blackhawks could easily go above market value here. Like, Carolina could offer $14 million. And the Blackhawks could come and be like, I can offer 15.5 and not blink. I can offer 15.5 million per year. That's, anything that Carolina puts on the table, Mikko, I can put more and I won't hesitate to. Carolina might hesitate because although, yes, they're going to benefit from having a lot of cap space, they'll also just have less than the Blackhawks. They'll have to continue building up the team. Yeah. With the Blackhawks, your situation is, well, especially if we get rid of Jones by some chance. Mikko's your biggest guy in the book, and you can afford him. You can afford $15 million on Mikko. He's that good.
Yeah, he's pretty sweet.
You could get Mikko, give Bedard his extension, his first contract after the ELC, and still have some of the best cap space in the league. Other teams are going to have this situation where, okay, if we get Mikko, that's it. We're done. And we might have to be in a situation where we're offering 13.5 million. And that'll be it for us. And that might drive teams away from wanting to get into a bidding war with Mikko Rantanen. Blackhawks, I don't see it being an issue. If he makes it to July 1st, I think Blackhawks can still make a great run for Mikko. I think the only thing that is holding him back is the chance that he re-signs in Carolina.
Yeah, that would be a shame. I mean, we said this on the pod, I think, last week. We should all be rooting against the Carolina Hurricanes right now. Don't go deep. Don't make a playoff run. Don't make him believe.
Here's something dumb. Is Carolina a cap team usually? Do they usually spend to the cap limit?
No idea. Off the top of my head, I have no idea.
Because that's my hesitation with, like, yes, the cap is going up by 9.5 or to 95.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
But like, how many teams in the NHL actually spend to the cap? Like,
well, I just looked up Carolina current cap space $282,000.
This
so they get up there
this season, and they're going to have money coming off the books, and they still have their LTIR because
they'll have 37 million going into the offseason.
I think it still benefits the Blackhawks because, like, if the Blackhawks need to get an upper echelon talent, whether it's Mikko Rantanen or Mitch Marner or somebody of that caliber, but also like the second tier scorers, like a step below those guys, the Blackhawks are going to have more money than anybody else to get one of those guys.
Well, I tell you, we've saying if Bedard is your number one center of the future, Sam Bennett is 28 years old.
Yeah.
And that is your number two center right away if you get him. And I have a feeling Florida is going to they're going to try to keep Aaron Ekblad ahead of anybody else.
I agree with that.
And so Ekblad is going to command 7 or 8 years.
Right.
And now he might, he's got a Stanley Cup now. Florida, maybe they'll make another deep run. You never know. And if they do, he could price out a lot of people. He'll be the highest paid defenseman. He'll be one of the highest paid defensemen in the league.
Yep.
I would imagine. And so the odds of them keeping Bennett, I don't know what Florida is up against, but unless they get creative, let's see where they are with the cap right now. Their current cap space is $2 million. But then, Florida loses Ekblad, Bennett comes off the books, Thomas Nosek, that doesn't bother them at all. So I don't know. And then obviously Bobrovsky comes off the books a year from now. So, but they have other players that they will need to pay the following year. I mean, that's when they have a ton of people coming up. So who knows? I mean, Sam Bennett could, and his agent could be sitting there being like, you're 28. This is your big contract. Like, this is where it needs to happen. If you want,
this is your 7-year deal.
Yeah. You've won your cup. This is where you max out. The Blackhawks could be a fit there.
And maybe that's maybe instead of trying to get Rantanen or Marner, the primary guy they're going to get is they go after Sam Bennett first and take him off the market.
Obviously, I think Rantanen is probably going to be the biggest prize. And if the Hawks take a run at him and get him, you go. Like, you do it.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that would much rather see Sam Bennett put a Blackhawks jersey on than Mitch Marner. I mean, Mitch Marner, he's excellent. He's talented. He's somewhat undersized, I guess you could say. He's always been second fiddle in Toronto. He'll score a lot of points, but I don't know. Sam Bennett has that factor about him. Now, people will think I'm
guys that can score goals, though. Like, they have to get a goal scorer.
They do, and that's Marner and Sam Bennett also. I mean, I guess maybe I'm getting over my skis here a little bit. Sam Bennett doesn't really finish NHL seasons. He's off injured during the season. He's just been electric the last 2 playoffs. So, I certainly don't want him to be their David Clarkson.
No.
I guess, yeah, we don't want Sam Bennett to be the Ville Leno and have him saddled in Chicago. So I take back everything I just said. Mitch Marner would be a great player to have. So I digress.
I mean, I think adding Bennett, and you need a goal scorer because this team doesn't score enough goals,
right?
like at all. And you need, like, yes, Bertuzzi's gotten good, but you need another, like, guarantee you're going to score 20, like 30, 40 goals a season. You have to have that guy because, I mean, they said it in the Hawks said it themselves into the road to the Winter Classic. Like, they didn't know where goals were going to come from on this team. Like, you have to address that issue next season. That's the primary goal. Get another guy who can score goals, and you take some of the pressure off Connor Bedard to score all the time. Because that's really right now it's Connor Bedard and it's Bertuzzi, and that's it.
Yeah. Are there any other attractive free agents, Jimmy, out there that we haven't brought up? I mean, we talked about Brock Besser. You know, at one point,
Brock Nelson is another one.
Brock Nelson.
I thought
like
looked
Brock
very
Nelson.
interesting.
The Brocks. Tell me more.
Well, what isn't there to know about Brock Nelson?
Yeah.
Solid
Well,
center.
no, let's talk about just as a fit.
I mean, funny enough, he's kind of in the same vein as Sam Bennett. 15 goals on the season. Sam Bennett has 16. Marner has 16 right now.
Really?
Career high in goals is 37. He got that in the 2021-22 season. He's had 30 plus goals the last 3 seasons. He's about a 50 to 60 point scorer. Last year he had 69 points. He's 33 years old. That's
He's getting up there. Yeah.
He's getting up there in age. That's the one thing I would hesitate when it comes to his value.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's getting up there in age, similar to guys like John Tavares. He's going to be,
John Tavares, I think it's older. I think he's
34.
Is he?
I
thought he was older.
Yeah, he's up there in age. Other goal scoring free agents out there, Nikolai Ehlers. That's another one out there.
That's a good one.
I sent him 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, he has 16 goals, same as Bennett and Marner.
Yeah.
He's 28 years old, about to turn 29 in like a week. He's a guy that can get you 25 to 30 goals. Just about last year, he had 25 goals. And he's played 82 games in the season 3 separate times in his career, including last year. So he's a warrior. He plays. He has 47 points this year. I think that'd be another very interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of other bottom of depth chart.
Yeah,
scorers.
I like the Nelson and Bennett thing just because they can play in the middle. I think that's pretty attractive. I mean, a lot of the other guys we talk about are wingers, and we've always kind of batted around that. Finding that elusive second line pivot has been a challenge. It is for all teams, but it just feels a little bit extra right now, a little bit particular to the Hawks. But I mean, I guess the point being is that the market is pretty rich out there. I mean, there's a lot of good players that are going to be coming off the books. The Hawks are going to have some cash. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll bring back Pius Suter, who's a UFA.
Would anyone be interested in Kyle Palmieri? He's 34.
Yeah, again, I mean, these guys that are approaching 35, you're just a little leery of because you've kind of been going that route a little bit with the older guys. I mean, I know hey, you find a 27-year-old goal scorer in the prime of his career. Hey, I want a toilet made out of solid gold too.
Yeah,
I mean, there's there's a lot of wants that I have in my life, and that being one of them, just like anything else. But I don't know. It should be interesting, and I do think that there will be so much that will shake up by the trade deadline. I mean, I think that there will be, there will be contracts that are moved. I mean, I don't know if the Blackhawks will find themselves. We don't know if they'll find themselves in a position where they're able to trade for someone who is already signed and will be on the books for a little while. If they're able to move some parts, or if they're moving Donato, or if they're moving anyone else, could they get an NHL player back that is already under contract that is not in the plans of a current team as they target somebody else?
I'm sure anyone on the Islanders.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and the NHL standings right now. I mean, obviously Ottawa's going to go for it. I mean, Ottawa. They should go for it. Ottawa is so stinking hot right now.
5 in a row.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. But I mean, there are some teams that what are the Rangers going to do? I mean, the Rangers just acquired JT Miller. And they are still 4 spots out of a playoff spot as of this moment. Now they have a few games in hand, but only over Boston. But they're level in games with Tampa Bay, who's ahead of them. So could the Rangers acquire JT Miller and then still be sellers? Is that possible, Jimmy, or are they just going to kind of go all in and just try to figure this thing out?
No, they're gonna go all in. I mean, that's what Chris Drury is gonna try to do.
Save his job.
Yeah, he really is saving his job. His expectations for this year and what he wants to do is make the playoffs, because that's the only way with this roster he really saves his job. Now, right now, they have about 3.6 projected cap space. Current cap space is like $9 million. Like, they got a decent amount of money that they can move around. So they could afford the entire contract of a guy like Donato and add to that bottom 6 scoring output, which has kind of been a trouble for them this season. I mean, that's why they got, what's his name? Kaliev? That's why they got him on waivers. I mean, they can't really believe in guys like Jimmy Vesey and the Empire State Building.
Jimmy Vesey, the most overhyped college free agent of all time.
That was
never
crazy that summer. That was everyone. It was August 1st, and everyone needed to have Jimmy Vesey. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Because he wouldn't sign with Nashville, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah. Wow.
What's his name? Will Coolile? How do you say his name? Cooley?
Don't ask me.
Yeah.
He hasn't really been, blowing things up in the bottom 6. I think Rangers are going to continue to buy, and Donato makes a ton of sense for them. They need bottom 6 scoring.
It could be.
Their forward depth, once you get down past guys like Panarin, Zibanejad, Miller, Kreider, Trocheck, it's pretty bad.
They're top heavy.
They're very top heavy. I mean,
very top heavy.
You got, let me just look this up.
They're like the Kool-Aid man, very top heavy.
Absolutely. I mean, let's look up their current, since I'm here on the topic, let's look up their current point leader. Panarin, 56 points. Fox, 41. Miller, 39. Zibanejad, 33. Trocheck, 32. Lafreniere, 31. Then you get down.
Lafreniere only has 31 points
in 52 games.
Yeah.
Wow. Then you get down to 18 points from Chris Kreider.
That's crazy.
That's really bad.
Last year,
really bad. 26 from Riley Smith, 15 from Sam Carrick. Adam Enstrom, who's now hurt.
Oh.
Yeah. Adam Enstrom, who's now hurt, 9 points in 51 games. Johnny Brodzinski, who I barely know, 7 points in 22 games. This team, VC 4 points in 27. This team, it just needs more consistency in that bottom 6.
In 44 games this year, Chris Kreider has 3 assists.
Yeah.
He had 36.
That is wild.
Yeah. So when I emphasize this team needs some forward depth.
Yeah, they need some help.
Forward depth. Donato, who's having a career season, makes so much sense for them. And they can acquire him without the Blackhawks having to retain salary, which would help the Blackhawks if they wanted to retain on another trade at the deadline.
So what are the Rangers giving up? They don't have a first rounder. Obviously, Donato wasn't going to command that. They don't have a second rounder. They have a third, a fourth, a fifth, 2 6s, and a 7th next year. What are they giving up? 2026 picks? Because Donato, you're not taking back an NHL player. Who are they going to give us? VC? You're taking a draft pick back for Donato.
Give us VC.
It'll probably be, I would guess, it's probably a 3rd round pick, maybe
conditional something or other.
Something, maybe a prospect who's kind of close to breaking in, but doesn't have the highest ceiling. I like Adam Sikora. I don't know if you guys know much about Adam Sikora. He's 20 years old. He was drafted, I think. Let me look this up just to double check. I don't think it was 20. Was it 2022? Yeah, it was a 2022 second rounder. He was in Russia. So that's why he, hasn't debuted yet. And he's having a decent season in the AHL. Hartford, he has 21 points in 43 games. Who knows how in love the Rangers are with him, considering they have a couple other forwards above him, like Brett Berard, Ottman, obviously, and Perreault. Maybe he gets, flexed out. So maybe it's a prospect and a draft pick. Maybe it's like Donato for a fourth and Adam Sakura, who's
Yeah,
I
who
would
knows?
say pretty close to making his NHL debut.
Random dude. Yeah. It
Yeah.
won't be Riley Smith. He won't be a part of that, even though he's a
No.
UFA. No, thank you. You know, New York, I guess the only real UFA they need to prioritize is Lindgren, but he's going to get paid.
Yeah. I think more than likely the Blackhawks aren't going to get
Maybe they get Rempe to appease all the meatballs. They'd go crazy.
Yeah.
I would guess you're not going to get a 2025 draft pick, considering the Rangers don't have a first or a second this year. You might get a 2026 third, or with how Kyle Davidson is kind of trying to stretch out his draft pick value, you might go all the way to 2027 for a 2027 third round pick.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, that would make sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. The other team I would want to keep an eye on them shifting to free agency a little bit here. The Columbus Blue Jackets have so much money to spend this coming summer, and they are in the playoff picture right now. And so I would anticipate that they're going to make some major runs at players. I mean, they've got Sean Curley coming off the books. Will probably let him walk. Olivier, they might want to re-sign. Danforth, who knows if they're going to be interested in re-signing him. James Van Riemsdyk, goodbye. Thank you. Kevin LeBlanc, Dylan Gambrell, do they re-sign I'll butcher this. Provorov.
Oh, I could have said that easy.
I know. And what they do with Fabro, I don't know. But so, I mean, they're going to be spenders. They're going to be big spenders. I don't think there's a more disappointing team in the NHL right now, and a team where you look at them and you go, ooh, you're in trouble for a while, than the Nashville Predators.
Yeah.
Man, they are old and under contract. And I don't know, unless they get really creative at the deadline, they could have a long road back, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, considering how they went out and got Stamkos and they got Marchessault, and they're like, we're going to be – I bought into it too. I thought they were going to be big time this year. And boy, have they just been dismal.
Good news for them. They have 3 first-round picks next year. I mean,
they do have 3 first-round picks. I mean, they'll move – someone will take Nyquist off their hands by the deadline. Gustav Nyquist will get traded.
Yeah.
Someone will certainly be looking for that. But then –
someone will look at Colton Sissons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stamkos and Marchessault are both 34. They're under contract through 2028.
Oof.
Forsberg through 2028. He's 30.
Yeah. Don't forget Ryan O'Reilly until
Ryan O'Reilly is 33. He's under contract through 27. And then, Roman Josi isn't getting any younger. He's through contract through 2028. He's 34 years old.
Oof.
Brady Shea's 30 through 2028.
Yeah, so they're
Luke Shen. Oh my God, he's signed for 2 years.
Yeah, so they're
losing though.
They do have the picks, and that's great, but they're gonna stink for a little while here. So
yeah, kind of.
I'm okay with that.
Tweet from back in November still holds true. I think I said something like, "Man, Blackhawks are in a bad spot, but I think the Predators have it way worse."
They do. Sean is moving both arms accurately.
Yeah, my dog keeps crying at me. I'm in my laundry room and my dog keeps crying at me.
And she's back in.
My wife's making the cameo now, so
That's awesome.
Are you guys on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi,
hello, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
They can hear me.
Yeah. So anyway, let's also talk about it. Ryan Hartman. Oops. Oh man, was that bad? For those of you that I don't know if you follow the Minnesota Wild, if you don't even follow the NHL, but former Chicago Blackhawk Ryan Hartman, now Minnesota Wild center, was just suspended 10 games, the longest suspension in the NHL in 6 years, for what he did to Stutzel. What's Stutzel's first name? Philip?
Tim.
Yeah.
Stutzel.
Yeah, those who call me Tim. So basically, off the draw, he put his forearm on the back of Stutzel's neck. Stutzel was hunched over and just plummeted him to the ground, opening up his face. And for that, Ryan Hartman, you get 10 games and not a good time. If you're the Minnesota Wild, that's kind of a key player to lose for 10 games when you are in the top 3 in the Central right now.
Not just that, top 3 and sputtering. I think they've won 4 out of their last 10.
Yeah. Well, the Avs could leapfrog them pretty soon here.
Yeah, they only have a goal differential of +3. They really are playing with fire, and you can't lose a producer like Hartman for that amount of time, especially with Kaprizov kind of being up in the air with his injury.
Yeah. Are they
And they're losing 2-0 to the Bruins right now.
Oh, good. Oh, joy.
Boston.
What's Brock Faber doing? Is he winning?
Is he back? Brock Faber's back, I assume.
I think he's back.
He's back, and then he's just going right into the Four Nations. That's great. Yeah.
For him.
Yeah.
The Four Seasons tournament. I've decided to call it, not Four Nations. Four Seasons Heating and Air tournament.
That's not bad. Well, speaking of the Bruins, I mean, the Bruins are in danger of missing the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Long time.
I don't know. It's interesting. Don Sweeney kind of built his roster for the postseason, and perhaps that'll pay dividends if they get there. But that's the issue right now with the Boston Bruins. And now the Hockey News reported today the idea of Brad Marchand being traded, the captain who's in a contract year. I don't know what you pay a 36-year-old Brad Marchand next year. He'll be playing in the NHL. Does he come back on the cheap to the Bruins? Do they want to bring him back? They'll probably bring him back and, sell as many Marchand jerseys. He's a folk hero here in Boston. Sell as many Marchand jerseys as possible. I don't think that Sweeney would have the stones with the fan base to move Brad Marchand. I just don't see it.
I think it'd be anarchy in Boston if he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the Four Seasons tournament is coming up. Marchand said that he feels the weight of Team Canada on him. Boston Bruin cult hero, delivered their last Stanley Cup for them. They've already lost Krejci, Bergeron over the last 4 years. Marchand's the only one that's left.
Yeah,
of that group.
And there was a huge outrage. I remember when Zdeno Chara had his last career season in Washington.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was an outrage.
That didn't go very well around.
It was not well received. And I think Marchand knows it. And I think he's trying to get as much money as possible. I don't think he wants a homer discount. Because if he wanted a homer discount, you'd think he'd have a contract by now, unless Don Sweeney is lowballing his hometown discount offer.
Yeah,
I mean, Marchand is going to get what he's worth.
Yeah, I mean, they could keep him, with the cap going up. They still have some randos that they need to figure out. I mean, they've got other UFAs: Trent Frederick, RFAs, Morgan Geekie, Oliver Wahlstrom. Forgot about him. Yeah, Johnny Beecher, Brazeau, Kopke. Their defense is solidified for a long time. Take it or leave. I mean, Charlie McAvoy. I don't know. I mean, he's 27. I personally, I think we've seen Charlie McAvoy's best hockey already. I don't think Charlie McAvoy. I don't think you're going to see him better than he is right now, or better than he was 2 years ago at the age of 25. And then Hampus Lindholm can't get healthy.
Yep.
He's 31 years old, and he has trouble getting through the season. He's on the long-term IR. And then Zadorov has been a disappointment, and he's $5 million through 2028. Brandon Carlo, they don't know what to do with him. So, I mean, bless you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, they're always involved, too, in these really low-scoring games, and some of them they win, some of them they don't. They either lose like 5-1 or they win 2-1 or 3-1. So, again, trying to be built for the playoffs with the big bodies, but you do have to get there. So
I knew I was forgetting something.
One more question. Alex Ovechkin. Can he do it by mid-April? Will he do it by mid-April? I guess a lot of it also depends on how many 1-goal or 2-goal games Washington's up where he can have an empty net. Thoughts?
I'd say yes.
Bueller? Yeah? Do you think he will?
I think so too.
Would you put your chips on it?
I would. I think the team's genuinely good enough. I think, sure, he gets a lot of empty net goals, but he's scoring at a great rate. I think, I can't remember. he might be on pace for it. How many more does he need? 18?
I think 18. He's on 877. He's on 877 right now.
I mean, he's on pace for 44 goals this year. That's another 20. So he's on pace to get
goals.
20 more.
Wow. Yeah, so he's gonna do this.
Yeah.
I think he will. I don't see him slowing down.
Doesn't interfere. He should be fine.
Yeah, 17 goals to tie, 18 to get there.
Yeah, on pace for
how many more? And how many more games are left? Like 25?
Like 30-ish.
Wow.
I think he can, because I think he's also going to benefit from. He's not going to play for the Four Nations, so he's going to get rested.
Good call there.
His team is so good that he gets empty net opportunities basically 2 out of every 3 games.
Yeah, they're legit this year.
They're so good.
He's on the power play still.
He's on the power play. His shot is continued to be
just lets it fly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would bet he does. Yeah, I think he gets it by the end of the year. I think I have full belief in the guy. He's going to get well rested during Four Nations.
Yep.
You know, he's perfectly fine since his leg injury. He has not slowed down a beat. So I'm all in on that.
Yeah. So the Washington Capitals right now are the top team in the East, and their leading scorer is Dylan Strome. There is no God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
That's despair in its highest form for me.
Darkness, my old friend.
Yeah, that's going to a dark place. I will say this.
I'm telling you, man, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be what?
It's going to be okay. We're going to be okay, my friend.
Yeah, you're going to tell me that when Dylan Strome wins a Conn Smythe this year?
Oh, my God.
Whoa. Watch your mouth, man.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking worst case scenarios here. Do I believe that's going to happen? No, I don't see. Washington doesn't get out of the second round, in my opinion. You know, I think they're catching lightning in a bottle right now. I think Carolina can beat them in the second round, though I'm going to be rooting for Dylan Strome and not Rantanen because I want the Blackhawks to sign Rantanen when Dylan Strome is already dead to me. But I don't know how these things get so confusing, but they do.
You're like Charlie in the mailroom connecting all the dots. I don't know what the mail is going.
Yeah, right. I don't understand how these things get so confusing. Oh gosh. Well, anyway, any final thoughts, lads, on the night?
Ooh, I got a couple because the AHL All-Star game was yesterday. Congratulations to Cole Gutman and Kevin Korchinski. The Central Division won the All-Star festivities, and our very own Kevin Korchinski, AHL All-Star MVP.
All right,
one goal, 3 assists, shootout goal in the championship game. Fantastic showing for the young kid. I wrote about in my article, this should just give a ton of Blackhawks fans solace in what was a tough NHL season last year. The kid is developing. We saw in his little showcase earlier in December, and he got called up. He is doing well. He's an offensive force.
Yep.
He's the best offensive defenseman on the Rockford Ice Hogs. He should be the best offensive defenseman on the Blackhawks when he is at his peak form. I'm very excited for the kid, and congratulations to him and Cole Gutman on a fantastic showing.
All right. Love it.
I have a shout out to former Blackhawk and now AHL Hall of Famer Michael Layton. Michael Layton will be in the AHL Hall of Fame. He's played 507 regular season AHL games, the 7th most in league history among goaltenders. And he's 5th all-time in wins and ranks 1st with 50 shutouts, breaking the record held by Johnny Bauer. He finished with a .238 goals against average and a .967 save percentage in net over his AHL career, where he played in Norfolk, Rochester, Portland, Philly, Albany, Adirondack, Rockford, Charlotte, Syracuse, Chicago, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, Ontario, and Utica. So, congratulations to Michael Layton.
Michael Layton.
Yeah.
Congratulations, and thank you as always for not having your paddle down on June 9th, 2010.
Yep. 111 NHL games, Chicago, Nashville, and Philly.
Yeah. If anyone, and the goaltender that let in the famous Patrick Kane goal
with the best non-reaction of all time.
And the puck is still not accounted for to this day. Has anyone seen that article? No one knows where the puck is to this day.
Oh, wow.
Like they all left the rink and no one had the puck.
I bet
the referee took it out and no one knows what happened to it.
Pronger always steals the puck.
He probably did. He probably threw it away.
Yeah, he did. He did that when he was with Philly. He stole the puck when he was with Anaheim. He's known for that stuff.
So I would assume that Kevin Korchinski is the most recent Blackhawk, someone within the Blackhawk organization who was some sort of MVP in a professional all-star game. So we did trivia last week. The last Blackhawk NHL all-star MVP was who around the turn of the century? Don't look, Sean.
I'm not. I'm thinking.
Blackhawks had an all-star NHL all-star MVP. In 1971, it was Bobby Hull. In 2002, they had their first one since Bobby Hull, and his name was
Nikolai Habibulin.
False.
Oh,
Almonte?
Jimmy? Nope. Now, there is a connection with Korchinski. If you think about Kevin Korchinski and the jerseys he's worn since being a member of the Blackhawks organization.
So it's a number 55, are you saying?
Uh-huh.
This may be before my time.
How can you guys not get this? Are you serious?
I don't know.
I may have looked it up. I'm not
Lazy Days. Eric Daze.
Oh, Eric Daze.
Eric Daze, 2002.
Oh. Wow.
2002 NHL All-Star MVP, Eric Daze. Lazy Days.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought I saw Brandon Peary was AHL All-Star Game MVP at one point too.
Probably.
Yeah, he was down there forever.
Anyway.
I went to a game 2 years ago when he came back to Rockford and he had like 2 goals in the first minute.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
I missed the first one. We got in pretty late.
Eric does. So, Andy, is it going to be trivia? Are we going to do trivia at the end of every pod from now on?
Maybe we should. I don't know. It's kind of
thing.
I liked the original 6 one last week. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I tagged you in the tweet with Laz. And
that's right.
I don't think Laz liked it. He didn't like it, but whatever. Whatever, Laz.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, folks. Appreciate you hanging with us for an hour. Yeah, some good stuff tonight. Around the League is always kind of fun, and we'll keep on keeping on. I believe Tuesday we're gonna keep trying to solidify Tuesdays as our nights to continue. So we will see you in a week's time, if not before, in case there's an announcement or a trade. Hopefully, some action in Blackhawkville.
And then we'll have in-depth recaps of the Four Seasons tournament.
Four Seasons tournament.
Yep.
That's correct. Good seats are still available. Yeah. All right, folks. Have a good night. On behalf of myself, Sean, and Jimmy Esquire, take care.